fear over electoral rigging rocks Zimbabwe as the country.
Yesterday, after listening to Prime Minister May's assessment of the state of the negotiation,
why it is our diocesan patron feast day is because the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Assumption is dedicated.
Do not have it in their mindset or in their psyche that we are playing against Algeria.
You can buy ram, otherwise foodstuffs such as rice, sugar, cooking oil, and much more for your family this Tabaski. Baluo, better than sending money.
Hello guys, you guys got very big rams. I hope you don't get it from where I'm suspecting. Do you think you're the only one who knows where all the good news come from? My son bought me this ram all the way from abroad with Baluo.
Oh yes, this must be Baluo. Me too, my daughter just bought one for me through Baluo. With Baluo, everything is possible.
This Tabaski, you can buy ram for your family using the trusted Baluo. Just log on to the www.baluo.com website or download the app. You can buy ram, otherwise foodstuffs such as rice, sugar, cooking oil, and much more for your family this Tabaski. Baluo, better than sending money.
Hello guys, you guys got...
Council, are we ready to continue the proceedings?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. We are ready to proceed. The usher is bringing in the witness.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Fal. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I hope you had a good break.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So just to remind you that you're still under oath,
Yes.
which means that you have to tell the truth. We will continue. I gave you a list of topics in the beginning. Right now, I would like to address the Freedom newspaper incident. We have heard testimonies from witnesses about that incident, but I would like to address it from your perspective, what happened in relation to that particular saga.
Yes, thank you very much. The Freedom Saga, that was in 2006, when the Freedom, when it was hacked. But what happened actually was there were names that were published in the newspapers, namely Point and the Daily Observer. And there was a name called Pamudu Fall, his name was there. But what happened in the media, there were two Pamudu Falls. One, myself, and the one that works at GRTS. When it was published, that evening, maybe Council, this is not in my testimony, that evening, sorry, in my statement, that evening, there was an announcement made at the radio that all those whose names were in the newspapers or the Freedom, they had their names in the Freedom Saga, let them report to the nearest police station. But prior to that, in the afternoon, before this announcement, I received a call from the Director General of NIA at that time, who was Harry Sambu, telling me that we have one Pamudu's name here. Hope it's not you. I said, no, it's not me. I have no connection with Freedom. So, but this really, I was disturbed when I received the call from the Director General of NIA telling me this. Because when I personally saw the newspaper publications, and my email was pamudufal@yahoo, and the other Pamudu, fair-colored Pamudu, who works for the GRTS at the time, his email was a Yahoo email, sorry, Hotmail, whilst mine was a Yahoo email.
But both were Pamodufal.
Yes, and interestingly, Council, is that both of us were sports reporters. The two Pamodus, both of us were sport reporters. And we were well known, you understand. So prior to this, even in the morning, people were calling me that, we had Pamodufal, I hope it's not you. I said, no, it's not me. Was the email, because they copied all of them, their email addresses were also published. I said, my email is Yahoo, but this is not me. But when the DG called me, that evening, it was around 4, I went home and informed my mom in Lamin and my wife that I'm going to Senegal because I'm no longer safe. Though it's not me, but I don't feel like staying in the country because anything could happen, because by then I learned that they started arresting people. So that evening, it was so terrible with my family. So I told them that I have nothing to do but just to leave for Senegal. So I traveled with the last ferry, because by then I said it was not safe to travel during that evening, because maybe the NIA may be at the ferries and they might spot me out, because I was well known. So I decided to travel at night with the last ferry and cross to Barra to Dakar. When I went to Dakar, I went to D.A. Jao. By then, D.A. was working for an Associated Press. He was the head of the English desk by then. I told D.A. I'm here because I feel I'm no longer safe, because I was called by the DG and I have no connection with this freedom saga. Whilst I was in Dakar, that's the time I got information that it was my namesake who was arrested at GRTS. I got this information at Dakar, So, but still I feared. I told DA, no, it's better for me now to stay in Dakar and see what to do, pick up something. Still I want to continue journalism career. But what DA advised me, he said, as far as you are clean in this, what I will advise you, go back home. If all the journalists run away from the country, who will be there at least to inform people? Because most of the journalists are on exile. Some of them started going on exile. He said, people like you, if you leave and come to Dakar, so it's not good for the profession. So we'll lose most of the veterans like you, we'll lose you. So I stayed in Dakar for almost about 4 days. I came back. When I came back, nothing happens to me. Actually, nothing happens to me. But this is how the freedom saga came.
But what about Pa Modou Fall of GRTS, who was arrested? Did anything happen to him?
Yeah, I was told that this is an information I received. I don't know whether it's true or it's not true, because I'm not sure about it. But what I gathered, I learned that he was tortured. I don't know whether it's true or not, but this is the information I got.
And the information that you received, which you weren't able to verify, was he tortured by the NIA, from what you heard, or by a different organization or security outfit?
They were detained at the NIA, but whether he was tortured or not, I wasn't sure. But this is what I heard from people, that he was tortured. But I was not sure, because I was not present when he was detained. I know little about his detention. After when he was released, I called him and we spoke. Yes, but I never asked him about those things, whether he was tortured or not.
And where is Mr. Pa Modou Fall now?
He is now in Belgium.
So, in the end, regarding the freedom saga, nothing happened to you?
Yes.
During that time, I also know that you worked for the Daily Observer. Again, I know dates can be a bit of a problem. Did you work for the Daily Observer before or after the Freedom newspaper saga?
Yeah, I think after I worked for the Daily Observer.
And for how long did you work at the Daily Observer?
Yeah, I worked there also briefly.
When you began working at the Daily Observer, what were you told about the editorial policy of the Daily Observer at the time?
Yeah, during our time, because when I started with the Daily Observer, I started as a freelance journalist. So 3 months later, I was staff. I was appointed as a staff reporter together with Chief Ibrahim Mane, who was the desk officer for Crime Watch. Because in Observer in those days, you have head of desks. You have the head of health desk, you have head of sports, you have entertainment, you have heads. So but by then Chief Ibrahim Mane was the head of Crime Watch. alongside with Lamin Diba, you used to call him LD, and also Ibrahima Kujabi, alias JT Brown. They call him JT Brown. We were appointed. These are the few people I could remember that we were appointed on the same day. We were almost about 7 who were appointed.
And upon your appointment, were you told anything by any of the managers of the Daily Observer about its editorial policy?
Yes, because as you know, Council, every newspaper have its own editorial policy. So when we are appointed, it was during the time of the late Buba Balde, and he told us that the editorial policy of the paper, of the Observer, was to focus on developmental stories. They don't want any critical stories like from the opposition and so forth. But
any critical stories about who?
The opposition.
About the opposition?
Yes.
What about the government?
Anything that is of promotional stories or developmental stories, what we should focus on is the developments that are taking place where governments are making gains, like projects where they have developmental infrastructural developments, to focus on those things and to be focused on more developmental issues than going to report on opposition issues.
And certainly nothing critical about the government from what you've said.
Yes, but I will come again. By then we have independent-minded journalists. Yeah, we said no problem, because by then, it was a problem to find job. All of us were young, and we wanted to be employed. We said, okay, no problem. But it turned different because you have independent-minded journalists who were there. I could remember the likes of Pa Usman Dabo, they were so independent. So now we don't even follow that, to be frank. That group don't follow that. In fact, we were focusing on other things. But interestingly, sometimes if we bring stories that are critical to government, the editors will bang our stories.
Sorry, the editors will do what?
They will bang our stories. They will not use our stories. That means they will bang the stories.
And so you weren't free to essentially report on some of the more critical stories that you wanted to?
Yes.
How long did you stay at the Daily Observer in that environment?
I think I couldn't recall. Because as I told you, Council, I was just crisscrossing from one media house to other. So it's difficult to recall the dates, to remember those days, actually. But I know that after that, I went to the Point again, yes.
And that, the editorial policy that you were informed of, and the fact that you actually tried to publish critical stories, but you couldn't, did they tell you where that kind of directive was coming from?
Not actually.
So you simply received that from Buba Balde, who was your managing editor at the time?
No, the managing director.
Managing director at the time. And so you did not spend long there, and then you returned to the Point newspaper again. Yes. You told us that this was after the Freedom newspaper saga, so I assume this is somewhere between 2006, 2007,
yes,
that
Council.
period?
Yes, Council.
When you returned to the Daily Observer, did you, were you also a member of the Gambia Press Union executive at any point thereafter?
That is Point newspaper.
I understand the Point newspaper. The Gambia Press Union.
Yes, I was a member. I became a GPU member since 1998. When I joined the profession, I became a member. I was the youngest.
And when you went back to the Point newspaper, did you hold any position at the GPU?
Yes.
Secretariat?
Yes, I was, in 2008, I was elected treasurer. Ndatafa Sose was our president. During the 2008 Congress, held at the President Award Scheme. The Congress was held at the President Award Scheme.
So you became treasurer in 2008. What was your position at the Point newspaper?
I was a sub-editor.
I'd like to focus on what happened in 2009 and the events that led up to, well, the events that followed the press release concerning the president's remarks at the time, President Jammeh, in relation to Data Haidara's death. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. In 2009, the former president had an exclusive interview with the late Keba Diba, and he talked about data. And to us, it was not nice because we thought that it was not good. It was, it was not good because it was after doing all the investigation, after following the government about the death of data to come up with investigations, the government never did. They never give us any reports about data. So if the president sat and provocating us, it was difficult because the way he described data, I don't want to describe it in this commission. It was provocative. And we feel that in our society, the dead should be given respect. In our culture, we should not say anything bad about the dead. That is our culture in Gambia. We feel that the president failed in that. And when Ndeye Tafa, I think it was Buya Jammeh, who contacted Ndeye Tafa, because Buya was responsible for our media monitoring team, because we have set a unit there called Media Monitoring Team. It's about human rights violations that are happening in the country. So he was responsible for cataloging those violations, and later we sent to these international organizations like Media Foundation for West Africa, among others. So when Ndeye Tafa watched it, I think through Buya, she wrote an open letter, but it was sent to all of us, our email, the executive members, all of us, and some of our advisors like Samsar, and I think Papsen, Uncle Papsen, and Uncle Swaibu, Konate. So we look at it, we edit the executive meet, and we edit we edit it and make it in a form of a press release. So when the press release was issued, they sent it back to Ndeye to look at the content, whether it's fine to go with it or not. She also said, no problem. I don't, as far as you guys have edited it, I have no problem with that. We can go ahead.
Because not only did you edit it and change it into a form of a press release, you also edited the actual language.
Yes. Yes.
Why?
Yes. We edited it.
Why did you do that?
Hmm?
Why did you do that? What was the feeling about that language?
Can you come back, Council? I don't understand.
You told us that when you received the open letter from Ndeye Tafa Soseh, who was the president of the Gambia Press Union at the time, you edited it and changed the format into a press statement.
Yes.
You said that you also edited the language. Well, you've just confirmed you edited the language.
Yeah, because in the open letter they sent, there was a lot of Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, reminding the president about what he's supposed to do in regards to data. So those Mr. President, Mr. Presidents, where it was, we edited all and do it in a form of a press release. That is fit for, that we feel that it was fit for a befitting response.
What was the issue with the Mr. President repetitions?
So it was many in the open letter. So we decided to change it as a press release instead. We have to change the content. At least, in fact, we brought what they wrote, actually. But instead of an open letter, now a press release.
So instead of addressing it directly to the president,
yes,
essentially addressing it more publicly, but with fewer references
Yes.
to the president. What happened after the GPU press release?
Yeah, when the press release was sent to us, when they look at it, it was sent to us. On the 12th, the Fourier newspaper published the press release. So that weekend, all of us knowing the system at that time, how hostile they were, we were expecting that something will happen. But nothing happened that weekend. It was a cool weekend for all of us. Nothing happens. I went to work on Sunday for production for the Monday paper. I met Uncle Paps and Ibrahima Sawane. Ibrahima was my boss. He was the news editor.
The Point newspaper.
Of the Point newspaper. Okay, I told him that I have a press release from the GPU. So by then I was also working together with Sarata. Also was a columnist at the Point newspaper. Both Sarata and I. Sarata was the vice president. I was the treasurer. Both of us were Point staffs.
What is Sarata's full name?
Sarata Jabi Diba.
Yeah. Please continue.
Yes. So I gave it to, someone said, can you retrieve it from your email or you can send it to me? I said, no, let me forward you the press release. So I forwarded it to Sawane and it was published on Monday.
Is there any particular reason why it wasn't published on Friday, as with the Fourier newspaper?
Yes, because what happened actually was I was not at work on Friday, and I didn't check my email. Because when they sent it, I didn't check my email. So when I came, I think I spoke with Ndey on Sunday morning. They called me that I have sent you something, but I have not seen it in the Point, but Fourier have published. Okay, I say, okay, no problem. It will be published. We will try to publish it on Monday. I will liaise with my editor, Sawane, and Uncle Pap. So when I came on Sunday at the office, there was internet. I didn't have internet at home by then. So I went to the office and accessed my mail and saw the press release. I told Sawane, and later I forwarded to Sawane's email. Sawane also saw it, and it was published on Monday. That was the Black Monday.
That would have been Monday, 15th of June, 2009.
Yes.
Why do you refer to it as Black Monday? What happened?
Yeah, because what happened, on Monday, I didn't report to work directly because there was a ruling for Mr. Papsen because his nationality was being questioned by the state. And the ruling was supposed to be at the Banjul Magistrate Court on the 15th. We went to attend Mr. Sen's, Uncle Papsen's court case, the ruling, and the court ruled in favor of Uncle Papsen. So we were happy. We were in a jubilant mood, leaving Banjul.
Do you know why a case was brought questioning the nationality of Mr. Papsen?
Yes, his nationality was questioned because the state questioned his nationality. But they proved beyond all reasonable doubt. In fact, the witnesses that were called, the state witnesses, all were in favor of Mr. Sen, because I could remember there was one Ibrahim Korea. He was an immigration officer. I think he was with the immigration intelligence at that time. I think, Council, you will allow me to dwell on this. If you allow me to dwell on this issue.
Please do. What I'm trying to drive at is why was there a case against Mr. Papsen regarding his nationality, if you know why?
No, the states know better because maybe after the death of Deda, it was nobody, but it was Mr. Papsen, and Point continued to write still. And in the paper, always what is there, and the states didn't like it, who killed Deda? That was always in the front page of the Point, who killed Deda? And the state was never happy, they were not happy about that. In fact, they have raised so many concerns that the Point should get out from the front page who killed Deda. On several occasions they tried, they couldn't succeed. You understand? So they want to get rid of Papsen. So the only thing, what they did to Baba Gale Jallo and Yoro Jallo. It's the same thing that they did to Uncle Pap also, to question his nationality. But luckily for Uncle Pap, he won the case.
So it was a tactic by the government, as far as you believe,
It was
in
a
order
tactic.
to stop him.
Definitely, Council, it was a tactic. So,
Yeah.
when we were in jubilant mood, I joined the same vehicle with Uncle Pap Sen and Ibrahim Sawane. When we reached the bridge, Denton Bridge, Pap phone rang, and it was from the call was from the NIA. They called him saying that they want him for questioning. Uncle Pap told us that something else popped in. He said, what happened? He said, I received a call from the NIA that let me go and report. We told Uncle Pap that let's proceed to the office, and when we reach the office, after you can go and report back to the NIA. But it's not safe for you to go back to the NIA. You just won this case. So let's go back to the office. After when we reach the office, you see the staff, and you go back to the NIA. That's what exactly he did. Sorry. When we reached the office, before reaching the office, I dropped. Yeah.
Before that, you were in the same car as Mr. Papsen when he received the call. Then he told you that it was the NIA requesting him to go in for questioning. Did he tell you why they had requested him to go in? Did they give him any reason?
At the time, he didn't know.
So you then arrived at the Point newspaper. What happened?
Yeah, before I dropped because Point and GPU, they were along the Gabaja Hompa Road. They were not far. So I decided to drop at the GPU to find out what is going on at the GPU. Upon my arrival, I met there our accountant, Madam Tambedu, who told me that the NIA were here. They are crisscrossing the place since in the morning. They have been crisscrossing between the Point office and the GPU, asking for the GPU executive members. So it's better you do something. I met Buya Jammeh also. I told Buya, okay, now, let's go to the Point. I went to the Point. Before arriving at the Point, I found that both Sawane and Uncle Pap were taken to the NIA headquarters.
That would be Ibrahim Sawane.
Ibrahim Sawane, to the NIA headquarters. So, whilst I was there, I think I was at the office for almost about 2 hours. I received the office phone call rang, and I was called to pick up the phone. The call was for me, actually. I picked the phone, and it was Uncle Pap who passed me to Alaji Mo. He said, answered. I answered the call, and it was Alaji Mor Job, who identified himself as an NIA an NIA officer. So he said, you are wanted for questioning. I said, okay, I'm coming. So before going, one of my colleagues, Abba Jiba, I hand over my bag to Abba. I told him that if you don't see me up to 6 o'clock, inform my family, because Abba was living in Banjurunding, and he's a childhood friend, and I was living in Lamin. We grew up together. So I give my bag to Abba to drop to my family. If you don't see me up to 6 o'clock, let him inform my family that I'm detained.
And our...
Abba Jiba.
No, you told Abajiba to give the bag to Awa. Which Awa?
No, to give it to my family, my wife, when he arrived home, and inform him and my mom that I'm detained. If I am not seen up to 6 o'clock, that's what exactly he did.
So around what time did you go to the NIA?
Around 3 in the afternoon. Upon my arrival, at the entrance, I introduced myself to the officer who was there and told him that I am Mr. Fall from the Gambia Press Union. And my full name, I told him my full name. But I'm called by Alaji Mor Job. He said, okay, no problem, wait. He called Alaji Mor in front of me, and Alaji Mor told him to usher me to his office. I went straight to Alaji Mor's office. But upon arrival, I found a pistol at Alaji Mor's desk, you know. So he said, okay, you are here. Okay. He moved me from the office and put me to another office downstairs.
Before that, you mentioned that there was a pistol on his desk. Is there any reason why you mentioned it? Was it significant?
Yeah, it was significant because I feared. When I saw that pistol, I feared, honestly. I don't know Alaji More, but I feared.
So having seen the pistol, you feared because you were at the NIA?
Yes.
And you didn't know why you were being called at
Yes.
that point?
Yes.
You said he moved you to another office?
Yes, for almost about 1 hour later.
Where was that office located?
It was downstairs.
Are we talking about the main building or
The
other
main
building?
building.
The main building.
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened after?
Yeah, exactly. After 1 hour, I was called at the conference room for interrogation.
Where was the conference room located within the building?
It's at the main building, but upstairs.
Upstairs.
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened when you arrived at the conference room? Just describe the setting as well as who was present, as far as you know.
Yeah, can somebody assist me just for 1 minute? I need something.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, can we give him a minute just to take care of his own affairs? Thank you. So, Mr. Fal, are you ready to continue?
Yes, thank you, Council.
You told us that you were ushered upstairs in the NIA main building to the conference room.
Yes.
Can you tell us, just describe the conference room when you arrived? Who was there as far as you could tell? What was the setting? And if there are any individuals that you recall, please tell us.
Yeah, it was a round table setting. And it was, you have some NIA officials and police officers who were there at the interrogation room, at the conference room, sorry.
Do you recall roughly how many people were there?
There were more than 10.
More than 10.
Mm-hmm.
Did you recognize any of them, or did any of them identify themselves?
Yes. I recognize Alaji More himself. And this man was fair in complexion. They call him Haidara. I overheard them saying Haidara. He was part of the panel. I don't know the first name, but he's fair in complexion.
Was he wearing a police uniform, or was he?
He was in mufti.
Do you know which security outfit he belonged to?
The NIA.
So from what you understood, he was referred to as a Mr. Haidara
Yes.
of the NIA, but you don't know his first name or his position at the time?
Yes, I don't know.
Please continue.
Yes. So from there, I was questioned. Sorry.
Did you recognize anyone else apart from?
Yes, apart from before coming to panel, I recognize Jim Drame. Jim. I recognize also he was not part of at the conference room. I recognize one tall, lanky Lamin Dabo. Because I know this boy, he was from Lamin. We are not far away from each other, but I know him as an operative. But he was there. But I recognize him. But he was not at the conference room.
So he was not a member of the panel, as far as
yes.
you could tell?
I also recognize one Safi. I don't know the surname, but it's late now. It's an NIA officer. It's called Safi. I don't know the second name. The surname, sorry.
Was this Safi part of the panel or not?
They were part of the panel.
You mentioned a Jim Drame. Was he a member of the panel?
Jim, no, he was not part of the panel. But I saw him, he was handling our case. He was among the people who were handling our case, but he was not part of the panel. The only guy I can recognize is this Alaji Moore. The rest, I don't know them. Some were from the police. Honestly, I don't know the rest.
So in terms of the panel, you recognize Alaji Moore and then the man that was referred to as Mr. Haidara of the NIA. Those are the two individuals.
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened in that conference room?
Yes. First of all, I was asked to give the details, who I was, of myself. Afterwards, how does this press release emanated, to explain to them how the press release came. So I explained everything, just like what I said, that I gave it to Sawane, to publish. They said, why should I do that? I said, yeah, this is the GPU, and I feel that, as far as the GPU is concerned, this should be published, because it's in response to the president. And they asked me, why should I say that? Why should I do that? I said, no, this was a press release, and it was a unanimous decision that we should come as a union with this press release. They asked me in the panel whether I'm trying to question the authority of the former president. I tell them, no, it's not about trying to challenge his authority, but this is what we felt as a union, that his statements were not okay with us. That's why we responded.
So from their questions, you could tell that they saw the press release as a challenge to President Jammeh's authority.
Yes, and what happened, during the interrogation, they brought at the decks the Point newspaper and Foreign newspaper. Those papers were also in the decks. They were going through the papers and questioning me about my role, the role I played for the publication.
Now, apart from questioning you about your role in relation to the publication, did they question you about anything else?
No, that was later. That was later, after when they questioned me, after they told me to go back, and I went back. So I will come, maybe subsequently I will come to that. Indeed. The following day, what happened.
Before you continue, out of that group, the panelists, could you tell who was in charge of the panel?
It was this Mr. Haidara. The fair in complexion was the head of the panel.
And why do you believe that he was the one in charge of the panel?
Because before they talk, they will also, he will give them permission before they ask questions. And that's why I believe that he was the head of the panel.
Please continue. You said, did anything else happen during that interrogation before you left?
Yeah, during the interrogations, they were also asking us our political affiliation. which political party we belong to. All those questions were coming.
You said us. Were you questioned on your own?
No, sorry, me personally, sorry. For me.
Political affiliation?
Yes, which I declined to disclose.
Did they ask you any other types of questions?
No, that was the only thing they asked me for.
And how long did that process take, that interrogation by the panel?
For 1 hour.
What happened after that?
After that, I was taken back and I met my colleagues again, Pap Sen, by Emil Touré, Sarata Jabi Diba, and Uncle Pap Sen. Yeah.
Where did you meet them?
Downstairs.
Was it in a particular office or was it just in a hallway?
No, it
or
was
reception area?
Near the entrance, at the reception. So where they were also detained. We are given light detention. They call it light detention.
Who called it light detention?
I could remember the late Liz Gomez, who was, I think he was a senior officer. He told the officers that let them be put under light detention. So, and we were given mattresses, and at the conference room, that's where we were detained.
And this conference room was located where exactly?
Just when you enter the NIA, after the entrance, that's where, it is, that's the first office you will have.
During your interrogation, the first interrogation you've just told us about, were you asked to write a statement?
Yes, I was asked to write a statement, just like my colleague did, I did. Yes.
And was the statement about the questions that you were being asked and the information you just told us?
Yes, the role I played. Mm-hmm.
So you were given mattresses and you slept in the reception area?
Yes.
Can you tell us about your experience that first night?
The first night was terrible, full of mosquitoes. It was an open place. And, we slept and a lot of mosquito bites. But that night, what happened? They brought Samsar, Uncle Samsar of Foria, the editor, and Abubakar Sedikan. So that night, after our interrogation, I think this was around after 8 p.m., and Job, the same Job, asked Samsar to give...
Alaji More
Job,
yes.
Asked Samsar to give statement. Samsar refused to give a statement. Because Samsar refused to give a statement. He told Samsar in the local dialect, Olaf, that's what he told Uncle Samsar. So that's the day.
Can you translate
Job,
that for us?
Do you think that you are more educated than all Gambians? So that's the day I saw Uncle Sam banking the table. Since I know Uncle Sam, that was the day I saw him banking the table, and Job left. Because Job tried all efforts to get information from Uncle Sam to make statement, but Uncle Sam refused.
So he was angry, banged the table. Did he say anything? That is
no, Alaji More was frustrated and waiting for the next day. That night we slept, but we were not comfortable because knowing the NIA at that time, every time we think that the junglers will come for us. That's the belief. We didn't sleep the whole night because anytime we hear strange noise, some of my colleagues will say, I hope they are not coming for us.
And why did you think that the junglers could come for you? Is that information that you had heard before?
Yeah, no, because at that time, anything that deals with the president, they don't joke with it. And we know that this was linked to the president. So that's why, we thought that the junglers will come or will be tortured.
So the junglers were involved in anything that was linked to the president?
Yeah, sometimes they will give them orders to come for the detainees, but in our case, no. That's what we thought. That's why 3 nights we didn't sleep. 3 nights we don't sleep.
If we still focus on the first night, were you given, you told us that you arrived at the NIA around 3 p.m. Were you given any food that day?
No, that day, no food.
Were you given access to a lawyer, for
No.
instance? I know you told us about leaving your bag with a colleague of yours and telling your colleague to inform your family, but were you allowed to inform your family about where you were?
No, the moment I entered the NIA, my telephone was seized. I gave my telephone to them. They confiscated my telephone. So I didn't have access to information. I can't communicate.
So you told us that where you slept was an open area. First, it was difficult to sleep because of mosquitoes, but additionally, you feared that the junglers could come at any point and torture you. That was the belief.
Yes.
So what happened the next day?
Yeah, the next day, we were also taken for interrogation again. But
Was
this
this
time,
individually or together?
no, individually. They will call individually. Not even the first day, it was individual. So the first day also, I forget to tell you, by Emile Toure of the GPU Secretary General refused also to give them, a statement. I think it was myself, Papsen and Sawane who only give statements at the first day. But my other colleagues, by Emile and Uncle Sam, refused to give them statement.
Do you recall if Sarata Jabi stayed with you that night at the NIA premises?
No. What happened, they always give Sarata bail. Somebody will come with the ID card, because Sarata was a lactating mother. She was breastfeeding baby Mohammed at that time. And every evening around 6, somebody will come with an ID card, they bail Sarata. So Sarata used to report on daily basis. She was not detained.
Was she at the NIA alone, or was she there with her baby, as far as you know?
No, she was not there. For the 3 days, she was not there with baby Mohammed. She will come and report. After, in the evening, she will go and breastfeed the baby.
So tell us what happened the next day.
Okay, the next day, they took us to offices within the NIA, and photos of individually, they will take it to offices, and our photos were taken to an office where they took our photos individually. And we were also given a form to fill where they were asking us our political affiliation, which party we voted for during the last election, and also what is our salary. Our salary was also asked. How much do we earn? All those things were asked.
And who was doing this questioning? Was it the same panel?
No, this time it was officials, different officers.
Did you recognize any of these officials?
Yeah, there was one, Mr. Sise, who I knew, who was attached to the Minister of Health. Because, me, I've been with the Minister of Health for almost more than 10 years at the time. Okay, I knew him. He was the attaché, the NIA attaché at the Ministry of Health. So when I was feeling...
When you say you were with the Ministry of Health for over 10 years, you mean covering
the Ministry of Health
Health.
events. Yes. Okay. Because when I left sports, I decided to focus on health reporting. So, but this CCA was attached at the birth and death registration. That's where he was at the time posted. So I know him very well. So he was the one who was administering my form, asking me a question. And Emile was near me, by Emile Toure. And when he asked me about my political affiliation, Emile said, "Hi, Sise, you want to implicate Pamoudou, and you said Pamoudou is your friend?" So he stopped. He said, "Emile, what are you doing?" He stopped. So that's where he stopped that and handed over to another person and went. So it was Emile who saved me.
So what happened that day after the questioning? Did anything else happen that day?
Yeah, that was the second day. In the morning, whilst they were taking us to another office, I saw Bo Baji. Bo was the DG. I know Bo because I used to cover sports, and in those days we used to cover the army. When they have this Wallo, there was a sub-regional military sports that they used to have in the host in the Gambia called Wallo, and I used to help them with a lot of coverage as far as that event is concerned. And Bo was a military officer, but later he became the NIA DG. So when Bo saw me, Bo said, "Pa Mudu, you are part of this guy?" I said, "Yes." So that's the end. And that's the last day also I saw Bo.
You told us that the first night when you slept, there were a lot of mosquitoes.
Yes.
You also told us that you weren't provided with any food that day. Was your health affected in any way as a result of the conditions of detention?
Yes, my health was affected. I got malaria. That was the second day. And in the evening, I told them that I was not feeling well. Okay, so I need medical attention. So they took me to a military hospital near State House, just adjacent to the RVTH. But before that, my family was looking for me, and they told them, this was after when I was released, I got this information, that they were looking for me, and they said I was not at the NIA. So whilst I was going to the military clinic, it was an open barn. You know, I was just sitting, near the door. I saw one of my cousin brothers called Pa Ebu Martin. I shouted, I said, "Pa, I'm here, we are here." So the officer was not happy with me. See, he even wanted to return me back, but the driver was a nice guy. He told him, "No, let's go." So that's the time my family and other families who were gathered there of the detainees knows that we were at the NIA. So I went to this military hospital, clinic, and they give me some paracetamol and other drugs. I came back to the NIA. I spent 30 minutes there.
During the second day, or even in the subsequent days, at any point were you asked to open your email?
Yes, that was the second day.
That was the second day?
Yes, I was asked to open my email. I think this was Liz Gomez, who opened he told me to open, they give me one computer, I opened my email, I typed my password, and they were looking for the communications, whether I have prior communications with Ndaitafa and about the GP press release. When my email was opened, so they saw some of the communications I had with Ndaitafa. That was, they sent me this email, but that day I didn't have access to email. From the courts I just came, I didn't check my email. So they saw those communications and also the press release. So he has to retrieve those communications and give it to the investigators from my email.
Did you allow them to freely access your email account?
No.
You told us that Liz Gomez was a member of the NIA, is that correct?
Yeah, he was a senior member at the time.
A senior member. Mm-hmm. Apart from asking you about your communications with Ndaitafa Sose, were you asked any other questions about Ndaitafa Sose at that time?
Yes, I was asked about the whereabout of, that was during the interrogation, about the whereabout of Ndaitafa. I said, I don't know.
I just wanted to clarify one particular point. You mentioned that Sarata Jabi was not detained at night with you in the...
She reported.
But we've also received information that she was detained for 3 days at the NIA premises.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Before she was granted bail.
Yeah, that could be true. Okay. That could be true. Maybe, I don't know, because I didn't see Sarata.
Okay.
The only time I'll see Sarata when we are called for interrogation and so forth. That's the only time. It could be true, definitely. Yeah, it's true then.
Thank you. No, thank you for that clarification. I just want to focus on what you remember. You told us what happened on the first day and on the second day. Did anything else happen at night on that second day?
Yeah, on the second day of our detention.
Indeed.
Yes, as I told you, we were feared because even that night I could remember, this is not a laughing matter. Mosquito was biting Uncle Pap's leg, and I happened to kill the mosquito, but it was funny because Uncle Pap thought that the junglers were coming for us. So it's not a laughing matter, but that was the situation.
And that's just to illustrate how fearful you all were in
Yes.
relation to the possibility of the junglers coming to.
Yes,
to-
yes.
How long did you spend at the NIA in total in detention?
3 days. We were detained on Monday, and on Thursday, we were smuggled to the Kanifing Magistrate Court.
And what do you mean by smuggled?
Because what happened, they didn't take us at the right time. It was towards closing time, almost 30 minutes before close of work. That's the time they took us to the Kanifing Magistrate Court before Magistrate Senabu Wada Sisi. But
At that time, had you been charged with a crime?
no, we were not.
That is before you arrived at the court. You were not informed of any charges?
No, we were not
against you?
informed. And what actually happened, what is interesting, the forms, there were statements they give us, the statement forms. There was no independent witness when we were filling those forms. But what happened, the day we were taken to court, Alaji Moore himself called one Tijan Ba. Tijan used to work for the, I don't know whether he still works for the Banjul City Council. He called Tijan to come and serve as an independent witness. And when we were filling our forms, Tijan was never present. Tijan Ba.
So the correct procedure was not followed because
Yes.
an independent witness wasn't present during
Yes.
your statement taking.
Yes.
But after you had already given your statement, they called in an independent witness,
Called Tijan Ba, who was working at the time at the Banjul City Council.
and simply for him to rubber stamp that, as
Yes.
an independent witness, that he was present when he wasn't.
Yes.
Please continue.
Yes. So after that, as I told you, we were smuggled without anybody knowing that we were smuggled to Banjul, to Kanifing Magistrate Court before Senabu Wada, without access to any lawyer. We were there just to defend ourselves. Because when we arrived, I don't know who must have informed the public or our family members that these people are going to court. So we found some of our family members there and also members of the public. So the court was jam full. Senabu asked us, to justify why we should be given bail, and all of us.
That would be Justice Wada.
Yes.
Okay.
All of us justify individually why we should be given bail. So, but our bail was rejected, and we were remanded to the Mile 2 Central Prison at the remand wing.
So to make sure I understand correctly, you did not have a lawyer, and
Yes.
so you represented yourselves, and you made the bail applications yourselves without any legal assistance, and it was
Yes.
rejected.
Yes.
So you were remanded to where?
To the remand wing of Mile 2 Central Prison.
Can you tell us about, before that, do you know what the charges against you were at that point?
Sedition.
Sedition. When you arrived at the Mile 2 remand wing, can you tell us what happened there? What was your experience of Mile 2?
Yes, when we arrived, first of all, the officers searched us and take all our belongings. We was handed over to the Deputy Director General. I don't know, I can't remember the name now, but it was the Deputy Director General and the officers, who took our belongings, and we were put to the cells.
When you were remanded to the Mile 2 remand wing, was Sarata Jabi with you?
Yes, Sarata was there.
Was she with her baby or not, from your recollection?
Baby Mohammed entered prison.
Baby Mohammed entered prison.
Baby Mohammed enters prison.
Can you explain what happened there?
What I mean, she entered prison, though when they took Sarah to the cell, they took the baby from her, baby Mohammed, and gave it to Sarata's family. But the baby entered the prison.
Can you tell us about the conditions of the Mile 2 remand wing?
Very horrible, because the conditions were not the least pleasing. Because the Mile 2, it was almost over 100 detainees who were remanded at the Mile 2. Maybe one cell you will have more than 40 people, and it was just these small size cells. The cells were not big, so and wooden. They just put wood in, so some will sleep under, and some will sleep up. But it was a wooden type,
So like wooden planks.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
people
exactly.
were
Exactly.
sleeping on.
So when we were searched and when we were put in the cells, we were given chamber pots. Chamber pots. Each of us were given chamber pots in case we want to help ourselves or ease ourselves. So we were given chamber pots. The first day.
And right now we're talking about Thursday. You had been arrested on Monday, kept at the NIA for 3 days, and on Thursday you were rushed to the Canifing Magistrates Court, where you were denied bail and then remanded at Mile 2 Central Prison. During that time, access to food?
No, I think it was this
And that would be the second day at the NIA?
No, second day at NIA, we were given breakfast, akara. I could remember because they told us that there is a certain amount that they cater for us for our food. I couldn't remember actually how much was it, but we were catered for.
Apart from akara, did you eat anything else? Were
Yes,
you given
rice. I think at that time they also have cooks there at the NIA. They gave us food. The second and third day they gave us food.
What about at Mile 2? What kind of food were you given?
No, at Mile 2, the first day they gave us the chere, the normal chere, but we don't eat. Because what happened actually, the prisoners told us that there was one disease they call biri-biri. When you eat it, maybe your legs are swollen and so forth, or your face. So many of the prisoners used to face that. They call it biri-biri. So we avoid the chere. So the first day we didn't take the chere, we didn't take their food, until the second day when our families brought food for us.
What about access to shower facilities? Were you allowed to take showers?
Yes, we were allowed to take shower. But before you take shower, it takes time because imagine over 100 detainees. So it takes time. And it was only 2 showers. And the toilets, it was only, no, I think 2, yeah. It was only 2 showers, yeah.
So while you were at the Mile 2 remand wing, did you eventually have access to lawyers?
Yes, after, I think lawyer Lamin Kamara visited us. Yes, Lamin Kamara visited us, yes.
Did you appear before court after that?
Yes, the following Monday. We were detained on Thursday. Monday, we reappeared again before Magistrate Senabu Wada Sise and say grant us bail.
So on this occasion, you were represented by a lawyer?
Yes.
And you were granted bail?
Yes, Lamin Kamara.
Can you tell us what happened to your case after that?
No, after 1 week after we were granted bail, I think we were supposed to report back on Monday, the following Monday. Suddenly, when we reported to the police, because our bail bond was, you have to report to the police twice a week. And all of us, you have to report to the nearest police station. That's near where you're residing. So which we complied. So, but before going to report on Monday, we also we were served from the High Court that, now our case has been transferred to the High Court in Banjul.
So what happened to your case before the High Court in Banjul?
Yeah, it was before Justice Joseph Wowo. And when we appeared, it was on a Friday. I'll never forget that Friday. Justice Wowo also remanded us again to the Mile 2 Central Prison. That was our second time in Mile 2. So we were remanded again at Mile 2 by Justice Wowo, Joseph Wowo.
Do you remember what the reason was for essentially revoking the bail that you had been granted?
He revoked the bail. I don't know actually, honestly.
So that was a Friday.
Yes.
How much time did you spend at Mile 2?
Yes,
on
but
that
before
second
coming
occasion?
to that, how we were taken to Mile 2, we were, parked at an open truck, to Mile 2, to Mile 2.
So when you arrived at Mile 2, this was a Friday, how much time did you spend at Mile 2?
Till the following Monday, when our lawyers worked for our bail, and they succeeded. Lamin Kamara, lawyer Uncle Antuman Gay, Nene Cham also was part of it, and Antuman's daughter, I don't know whether it is Mrs. Coker or whatsoever, I don't know, but it's one of Antuman's daughters was also part of the defense team. Yeah. They worked out for our bail and they succeeded. But the bail bond was $300,000, and we have to report to the courts every day from Monday to Friday. It was a speedy trial.
Antuman Gay's daughter, would that be Kombe Gay? Or
Kombe, yes, Kombe, you are right, it's Kombe.
So you said it was a speedy trial?
Yes.
What was the conclusion of the trial?
They sentenced us to 2 years in prison with a fine of $200,000. If you don't fulfill it, we'll spend another 2 years. It was concurrent. So, but before that, something interesting happened during our trial. That was the American ambassador at the time was Ambassador Haley, and the British High Commissioner. They were so interested in our case. They always come and attend our trials. One day, I think the president was making statement. He said he don't mind the hypocrites who are following this case, but he know the hypocrites. So diplomats should be focused on what brought them in the Gambia rather than interfering in internal issues.
So after you were sentenced, how much time did you spend in prison?
I think it was 27 days. For us, we were at Joswang Central Prison, 5 of us, and Sarata was remanded. Sarata was at Mile 2, at the female wing.
Can you describe to us the conditions at Joswang prison? What was it like?
Yeah, the conditions also is just like Mile 2, but it was better than Mile 2. Joswang was a bit better, not to our standard, definitely, but it was better than Mile 2. Though we do have food, but the food was not sufficient, because once you are incarcerated, you will just eat the prison food. It's only the prison food that we will eat. So it was not good for us. It was not good. And the normal chere also. But I avoided the chere, honestly.
What about, you said it was better than Mile 2, but
a bit better.
What about some of the other conditions in terms of sleep arrangements, access to the showers?
It was just the same like the remand being at Mile 2. Access to showers, you have to queue and wait. You have to queue and wait. If somebody is ready, you go and have your shower. But it's a long queue. It might be sometimes it takes you 30 minutes before you take your shower, or more than that even. It depends. But for us, ours was different because the inmates we found there, they were treating us well, yeah, honestly.
While you were detained at Jashwan prison, did you become ill at any point?
Yes, I became ill during the course of our detention. One day, I was given a medication which I was allergic to. I was given aspirin because normally what happened, once you are sick, it is the prison medics who are supposed to be responsible to care about you. But it was at night, around 8 o'clock. I had a chest pain, and one of the inmates, the drugs were left with him, and he gave me aspirin. I have an attack, and definitely I wanted to suffocate even. So what the duty officer in charge was one Mr. P.O.C.D.B., and he was the one who also called, I think, his seniors that I should be taken out of the cell. If not, I would have a problem because by then, definitely, I was really suffering. So after
I just want to ask a point of clarification. Did you just say that the medication was given to an inmate of the prison?
Yes,
to
who was administering, this, if any inmate is sick, he will give it to you, who was not a medical personnel.
So it wasn't given to a medical personnel of the prison staff?
Yes.
It was given to an inmate to administer?
Yes, the drugs.
An inmate who did not have
medical
background.
Mm-hmm.
Please continue.
Mm-hmm. So CDB, after getting the orders from his seniors, he took me outside to have air because it was a problem for me to breathe, So just for a while, I think I was there for almost 2 hours, from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. After a while, they take me back to the cells. But I was still having the same, the reaction was serious. I couldn't sleep the whole night. I couldn't sleep. The following day, when I reported the case to the prison medics who were helpful. I will thank them. That is Jatu Koli, Fanta Baji, and also one P.O. Sak. He was not a prison medic, but he was so helpful to us. So I complained my condition. By then, James Jaju was the head of the medic at Joswang. I told James, these people appealed to James to take me to the hospital, but James said no. So because by then I know my condition. So I told Jatu and Fanta to help me because they were helpful, that to talk to my family because they have the contacts of my family, my wife, at least to get medications for me. So when they talked to my wife and prescribed the medication to buy, my wife buy the medication and brought it to me at the prison. Yeah, that helped me a lot. I will thank Jatu and Fanta and P.O. Sak.
Thank you for that. I was about to ask if any of your family members visited you during that time, but
Yes.
you've just said that your wife.
Yes.
Please
Yes.
tell us about that.
My wife visited me whilst I was sick at the prison. By then, my younger child, Nafisatu, was just 2 years. After being detained, since my detention, I missed my child. I couldn't see my child, and that was an opportunity. So the child was crying. She wanted to come to me so that I can hook her. But the prison officer who was on duty, called P.O. Sonko, refused me. That day I feel so bad. I cried. I cried and reported the matter to the officer commanding. That was Fal. He was one Commissioner Fal who was there. What this guy did to me. That at least to have access to my daughter, even if it is going to be 5 minutes, at least to have access to my daughter, that was fine. But he denied me this. Still, when I see him, my mind, I always remember this thing. It was a bad day for me whilst I was sick. I couldn't sleep the whole night because of that incident.
So you weren't allowed to hug your daughter, baby Nafisatu?
Yes.
You told us that you spent 27 days in prison.
Yes.
What led to your release?
Our release, it was very interesting because Uncle Sam was he was our elder, Uncle Sam Sar. Because what they did was, during our detention, they said we will not do any work. Okay, I'm not a health personnel, but at least I have some experience. I told Uncle Sam, because he was also having some health conditions. So I told Uncle Sam, I said, these people, what they are doing to us is not good, at least let's exercise. Exercise is good for us, because every day we get sweat and so forth is good for us. But just sitting at one place, it will not help us. Uncle Sam said, yes, Pa, you said, what you said is true. So prison officers don't want us to work. But we will tell them that, no, we are prisoners. Let us work, just like our other colleagues, what they are doing. You know, sometimes they will give us cutlasses to cut grasses and so forth. This really, help us. Whilst we were doing that, because we used to have access to television, GRTS, one time, the former Nigerian president, Abdul Salami Abubakar, came as a special envoy. He was sent here. I don't know by who. Uncle Sam told me that we will not spend 1 month here. We will be released. He said, Jammeh cannot take pressure. I know, because Jammeh cannot take pressure. I said, okay, Uncle Sam, I believe you. So when Abdul Salam Abubakar left, I think the following day, it was 17th day of Ramadan, and it was on the 3rd of September, 2009, when we were released. It was just after breaking our fast. They came for us. I think it was one officer, Jimbo. They call him Jimbo. He's called Saul. He came for us that you guys are needed at mile 2. But by then we don't know for what. So we went to mile 2. When we went to mile 2, it was around 8 o'clock at night. By then David was also not there. They put us to an office where it was not far away from David Collins' office. So we sat, but we don't know what's going to happen. They told us that to sign the book that we are released. We said no, we will not sign the book unless our lawyers are present or our family members are present, because the danger was we can sign the book and afterwards we disappear. And they will, in the records, they will say that these people, we have released them. So that was the reason why we said that we are not going to sign the book unless our lawyers are present and our family members. Which they give us telephones, they give us our phones back to call our family members that these people, we have been pardoned. But before that, something funny happens. One officer, I couldn't remember the name now, when they brought us, he told us that anything happens, know that, have faith, know that it's from God. It's one prison officer, I couldn't remember. He told us anything happened. I told Uncle Pap, now, this is about our faith. Now it's Ramadan. Let's to each of us, let's take 2 rakas. Anything happen, we know that it's from God. All of us decided to take 2 rakas. They forced us to eat. We said, no, we are not going to eat. Because that was threatening. What the prison officer told us that anything you see, know that it's from God. And knowing the system at that time, the atmosphere was not conducive. So it was not good for us. Even before we were released, we were not sure whether we are going to be released or not. Until when we saw Lawyer Kamara, when he came, we saw also David Colley came, his assistant, I think was Jara. Jara also came. We saw the IGP was Ensabaji Jesus. We also saw the arrival of the Interior Minister, Usman Sonko. We saw the PS of Interior Biden was Maudo Toure. All these high-level government dignitaries arrive. When they arrive, okay, they call us and say that the minister wants to talk to you. We say, okay, no problem. The minister addressed us, he said, we are sorry for all what happened, but you have presidential pardon. We said, thank you. But he said, we'll call GRTS, and we'll want every one of you to speak and, thank the president. We say, okay. Uncle Sam said, no, let us not do it, because why should we thank the president? If it is a pardon, it's a pardon. So, but they paraded us at GRTS, but we were mindful of what we are going to say at GRTS. A mere thank you is thank you. We say thank you, Mr. President, for pardoning us. That's where we stop. You understand? So after that, when I was going, and Sabaji told me that, Pa, why not write to the president for forgiveness and say that, no, this was just a mistake. At the time, I say yes, which I never did. Up to date, I never did. So that was the time. So when we were released, this is how we were released, Council.
Thank you very much for that explanation. We don't have much time left, so I would just like to address very briefly the last topic, which is whether you had any further interactions with members of the NIA in relation to your work after you were released in 2009.
Yes, after when I was released, I forget to mention this thing, Council. I'm just recalling now in my statement. When I was released, I was supposed to travel to, I have 2 invitations. One, I was supposed to travel to Nairobi, and the other one also, and they facilitated for us to go to Burkina Faso. We were invited shortly after our release to Burkina Faso to a meeting. So my passport expired, so I have to renew a passport. I went to the immigration. When I went to the immigration, with the DG by then, I will thank him, Buba Sanyang. Buba have no problem with that. But the NIA attaché who was there is called one Lamin. I forget the show name, but now he works with Natip. Natip, I think Natip, he worked with Natip. This human traffic, something like that. That's where he works now. He said, no, Mr. Fall, you have to get clearance first before we give you. But when I spoke to Buba, Buba said, no, you don't need clearance. Once the president has pardoned you, why do you need clearance? You don't need clearance anymore. So, but this man insisted. It took me almost about 1 week before I got my passport. He got clearance. When I get clearance, he got clearance from the NIA. That's the time I was given my passport to travel. Instead, I was able to, I managed to travel to Nairobi because I belong to an African network called African Media and Malaria Research Network. By then, I was the coordinator. I forgot the Burkina Faso trip and went to Nairobi. So, 2016, it was at the airport. This was very interesting. I was supposed to travel. It was a private travel. It was my own thing that I facilitated because I belong to a lot of African networks. Normally, they invite me for meetings. I always go. So I was invited to travel to Istanbul in Turkey. That was in July 2000 either July or August, but it was in one of these months. I went to the airport. At the immigration, so I was asked, where I work. So I identify myself that I'm just an ordinary journalist, travel, but I got invitation. I saw them all the details of of my invitation. I gave them. So the officer called the NIA officer who was in charge. So I was called at the NIA office because my mom worked at the airport. That day, my mom was on night duties. So when I was called at the NIA office for interrogation, why should I leave the country? Why should I travel? So my mom was so confused. I told Mom, relax. I'm going to answer all the questions because I have not committed any crime. So I went. I was also subjected to 1-hour interrogations. I was about to miss my flight. After they photocopied my passport and they get clearance from from their bosses. I don't know where they get the clearance. They told me that now you can travel. But it was so devastating. Because my mom, in fact, it was terrible for my mom. My mom couldn't understand. So after everybody was looking at me, so it was a harassment at the airport. They harassed me at the airport before I traveled. Yes.
Having heard your testimony today, you talked about 2 incidents where colleagues of yours, journalists, were killed while they were still serving as journalists. You told us about arrests and detention of other colleagues of yours, as well as your own victimization. Having endured all of that and having worked as a journalist for over 20 years in those conditions, what has the impact been on you?
Yeah, it has a serious impact on me because as a journalist, it makes me really, I was living in a state of fear every day whilst I was doing my professional work. And also, it has some effects, negative impact towards my family. Because by then, my wife was she was working at the RBTH, and later I was also sponsoring her university education. So it went up to a time whereby, I was unable to do it. I could remember there was a time even when we were detained, I called Uncle Halifa Saleh. I said, I need support because we are detained and I'm the sole breadwinner of my family. And I was also helping my wife for her education. So it was not easy. It was not easy. It was serious because my kids by then, Mohammed and Nafi, they were young. And every time, it went up to a time, my mom wants me to leave the profession. But because of the intervention of my brothers and my sisters, they told him that this is what he wants. Leave him to do the job he wants. So that keeps me. But one thing also I forget to mention, during our detention, Auntie Adelaide used to visit our family and they used to help our families. Definitely, I really will appreciate the efforts of Auntie Adelaide Sose. They really stand by our families, definitely.
Thank you very much for answering my questions, Mr. Fall. I have concluded my questions. Mr. Chairman, the floor is over to you in case the commissioners have additional questions to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emma Council, and thank you very much, Mr. Fall, for your testimony. Before I give the floor to the commissioners, if they have any questions to pose, just ask you a quick one. During the periods of your incarceration, either at Joshua Prison or Mile 2, were you visited by the International Committee of the Red Cross at all?
No.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Kinti, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pamudu. Definitely you had shown a lot of resilience. Journalists have undergone a great deal of terror during the period. Regarding the student demonstration, I may not want to preempt, but I have a point here. You told us you were in hiding at GTTI, which seems a bit strange for a bold journalist like you to go on hiding.
Yeah, at GRTS?
Yes. No, first you went on hiding while you were on live reporting at the GTTI.
No, it was at GRTS.
Ah, okay. Okay. You were making those live reporting at GRTS. I remember you said you hid at GTTI.
Yes.
And you were saying you were in Bakau.
Yes.
You were disguising.
Yes.
Again, Omar is a current affairs reporter. The student demonstration was a current issue. I thought he was going to be, well, yes, he had two hearts. He was both a volunteer, Red Cross volunteer, and a journalist. But at this material time, since it was a current affair and he was on the ground himself, I thought he would have leaned more on the journalism than on the volunteerism. Nonetheless, what I can deduct from that, in my own view, is that probably you were suspicious of some eventualities. That's why you went on the hiding, and that's why he decided to go as a volunteer. I'm not sure whether that perception holds, or what do you comment about it?
Yeah, thank you very much, Commissioner Kinti. Because actually, I was a young reporter by then. I was coached by Omar to at least on how to go about demonstrations and so, because Omar was more experienced than me, and he coached me on how to go about this thing. Because I feel that my life was being threatened because I was chased by the soldiers. As a result of that, I have to went for a hiding at GRTS. So that's the time, because I feel no longer safe. That's why I went to GRS. I was bold enough as a journalist to report and to give live reports to as events unfold, as far as the student demonstration is concerned. So that's it, Commissioner Kinte. So I think I have done my role. So it was not easy, because Omar was the one who coached me. He told me that if you are at GTTI, tell them that you are at Bakau. Because I was a raw reporter, Commissioner, by then. Very young in the field. I don't know anything in the field. So I did exactly as he said. That was only once I did. So when I saw that my life was being threatened and I was followed by the soldiers, I went into hiding.
Thank you. Any more questions? If not, Mr. Fall, would you have any concluding remarks to make? If you do, please proceed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. First of all, I would like to thank the TRRC for giving me this opportunity to speak, because this was in my chest for so many years. But at least today, I have a platform where I can voice it out for the public to know that this is what actually happens to me during my career, in my career as a journalist. And also, I'll urge people, especially the general public, to take the TRRC serious. But the TRRC is very serious, and the TRRC is here for everybody. So I'll call on people to come and testify before the TRRC. I'll also thank the commissioners very well for the good job that they are doing, and the legal team, for the good job you are doing. Because all these things you are doing it for Gambia. And for the never again to happen, not to happen, let the security forces don't see the journalists as enemies, and the journalists also see them as stakeholders. Because after all, it's one Gambia, and Gambia is bigger than all of us. What we have to look at is Gambia first, before anything. And the atrocities and the harassment that happened over the years, we should not allow it to happen again. The never again slogan should be championed by everybody, so that the Gambia we want, we can really see the Gambia we want. The other thing I will also talk about is about the draconian media laws, which are still in our law books. I will want this draconian media laws to be out of our law books, because the Constitution, if not, still what transpire would happen, what happened would happen. And to avoid that, the only thing to do is to get all these bad media laws in our law books. So that's the only thing that we can do. I know the GPU is doing a lot in that direction. We are working with government closely. So I would also like to thank my family for the support they have given me over the years. I have a good wife, and I will always thank my wife, but she has been always there for me and for the kids, despite, I don't have time for the job, but she has been always there for me. I will thank her for the support she has given me over the years, and my family members also, who were very supportive to me, and the entire journalists, the Gambia Press Union, and also the Journalist Network Media Foundations, and other individuals like Anti-Adelaide Sose. I will thank them, and all those who have supported us during our incarceration. Thank you very much, Council. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Fall, for your testimony and for the words that you just expressed in your final remarks. We are going to take a 1-hour break. We come back at 2:40 and continue with our proceedings. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
baluwo nafa wartal sawga manjara moy jakal nyimba na salo ni lafta leyango la isa soto nin sila taringo minna wolom baluwo silodi ka kuma ko ilong ila kuoto alte la website oto www.baluwo.com wala aliela app download baramanda nyinda mala anim baluwo alse mano sanno sukuro tulo anim fen jama baluwo wala efisia ka kodo kina